Welcome to Corpstruction, a show about the missions and activities of the Tulsa District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. My guest today is Dennis Covey, the lake manager for the Tenkiller Lake Project Office. Dennis and his team oversee 10 parks with multiple forms of recreation. What else do you do, Dennis?
We do a lot of FRM type work there as well.
What is FRM? Can you...
flood risk management. We basically take care of the earthen embankment that controls flood waters and keeps pressure off of the Arkansas River there. So depending on who's high and who needs to release, we catch ourselves doing some of that. We do a lot of maintenance. The wildlife management aspect of it, and of course right now it's recreation season. We're full-fledged working parks, keeping facilities up and running.
So you started with the Tulsa District in 2010 as a park ranger. And
Yep.
Tell us where you were when you started out.
So I started in 2010. I was a park ranger at Robert S. Kerr Lake. Office there at the Lock 15 at Robert S. Kerr. I was there as a ranger about 4 years. Took a promotion to Eufaula Lake as a lead ranger there. Was internally promoted there to assistant lake manager, and then moved to Tenkiller as the lake manager in September of 18.
Yeah, and you replaced Tish, who'd been there for 20 years or so.
I think she'd been there about 10 years.
10
or 12, something like that.
So, welcome to Corpstruction, Dennis. I guess I already pretty much started in on you immediately with the question. So, you came really to talk about Snake Creek and Elk Creek because those are two of the campgrounds which were hit by a tornado in 2018. I think it was November of 2018.
Yes, sir. Nice welcome. Nice welcome to Tenkiller. Was a tornado, and I got there in September of 18 and got a tornado in November of 18. So
that's one way to start off a new assignment.
Yeah, followed by record floods of 19. So.
So tell us about the amount of damage that Snake Creek. I guess we'll start with Snake Creek first. Tell us about the damage there.
So the main issue there, our part of Oklahoma, in particular, pretty substantial timber, mountainous, rolly hills, and as a byproduct of that, we had a lot of trees inside our campgrounds, which is great because it provides shade for the public. The downside to when a tornado hits your park is, we had, I can't remember the exact number, but I know between Snake and Elk Creek, well over 150 mature post oak, red oak, sycamore trees that were completely uprooted. They didn't break off. They just uprooted and fell over. So aside from having that to clean up, them trees, pretty much both parks, park wide, fell on everything we owned, everything that we built, infrastructure for the campground. And, we knew immediately that there was some utility issues as well. I mean, most people probably didn't think of that, but when we went to those parks the next morning, the water meters at both parks was just spinning. So we knew we had multiple water line breaks, damage to facilities, a lot of the stuff, amenities to campsites, fire rings, grills, electric pedestals, utility tables. Those things aren't going to stand up to the mass of a 120-year-old post oak tree falling over on them. So, there was a, at first look, my gosh, there's a lot to clean up. The longer we had to think about it and assess it, man, what all's destroyed. You can see the easy stuff, the playgrounds, with a giant tree laying across the middle of them. That's pretty obvious, or a gate shack with a tree on it, or bathroom with a tree on it. You can see those pretty easy. But then you get deeper, you're like, man, how many water line breaks do we have? Because of, roots growing around water lines and pulling them up. And, how many electric pedestals got smashed? So, basically we've almost rebuilt both parks at this point. We're getting close anyway. So a lot of damage, I guess, to answer your question.
I remember myself and Stacy Reese from our public affairs office, we went out, I want to say it was like that week.
Probably about, I think it was about the week after. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was cold. I remember it being
very cold.
Extremely cold.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy. And even then we were trying to be extremely careful because we were worried about power lines and potentially, a tree that might be leaning or a branch or and I don't just mean like a small branch. I mean like huge, thick branches that could have been leaning on stuff. And I remember the guys out there in the front loaders and the Bobcats, just going through and trying to move stuff very carefully. Yeah, and I guess that leads to my second question is how did you guys have to go in and make sure that area was safe first? What do you?
Well, we had a lot of requests, and not to discredit any ideas, but we had a lot of requests from local public. Well, just let people go in and cut firewood, and there were so many trees leaning on trees that were standing, or limbs hanging from trees that were standing, or even trees on top of trees on top of trees that as a public servant, in my opinion, it was unsafe to just let people go in there and just open the gate and say, anybody want any firewood, just go cut it, because we would have been liable for injuries. And it would have been hard to regulate that in a fair way to the public. So basically what happened as far as the trees go is shortly after the tornado, we had some flood supplemental left over that we were able, within the district, that we were able to reprogram and turn it into basically tornado supplemental. So we was able to do a contract to safely and actually other than a flood holding it up, rapidly get all those trees out of there, the holes from the root wads filled in, and it just seemed like a safer, more viable option for us at the time, and was able to get that done in a pretty quick manner with professionals that knew what they were doing.
Now, did you guys have to you had to contract a lot of that removal, or did our maintenance staff at Tenkiller a lot of it?
Our maintenance staff started it because supplemental funds are never a guarantee. We started working on that. It was a good time of the year to do that. Obviously our busy season is during recreation season. Right. November is not the busiest time of year for us. So we started that work. We got a drop in the bucket done compared to what once we got a contract issued. I mean, those guys, complete work time inside both campgrounds, they were only there about 3 weeks, and you would have never known that those trees even existed other than the grass was gone and there was a bare dirt there. So, it would have taken us, with my staff, I have 6 full-time rangers. I have 3 full-time maintenance guys. At the time, I only had 2. I had a vacancy. It would have taken us months to get that cleaned up with the equipment we had and the staffing that we had.
Yeah, that's pretty challenging. And then you've got other projects to work on. I mean, you had 2 campgrounds, and then even during the off season, there's still things you have to go check on at the campgrounds.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of the stuff that you put off, the stuff you Band-Aid in order to get through a rec season. We try to do a lot of those repairs during the fall and winter to make it where we don't have to Band-Aid them next year. So, even though Snake Creek is probably my most popular campground, and trust me, I understand people want to get back there, but I still had 4 Class A parks to manage that were open, that all but one have over 100 sites. So I have big campgrounds there at Tenkiller. And plus, my staff and myself, we also manage the Weber's Falls area. We had 2 Class A campgrounds there, as well as 2 Class C campgrounds, not to mention and we're not even mentioning when the flooding started, because even during that debris removal contract, which is the trees and stuff, they got about 2 weeks in and we flooded. I mean, to where they couldn't even get in those parks. I mean, so had to prolong that. And I was in it for a while. There was a lot of stress upstream. Fort Gibson, Oologah, Keystone, Call, all those lakes received substantial rainwater. And so I was sitting there holding for a long time. And, that contract was on hold, and they was gone for, I can't remember exact days, but it was a substantial amount of time before they were able to come back in there and finish. So
and you had a gate at Weber's that was pretty much open,
Yeah.
a lot of that time because of the barge strike.
Yep.
And so, you guys are releasing from the Illinois into the Arkansas River. So
yeah,
downstream, you got to watch that, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, at Tenkiller, the nice thing about Tenkiller, I don't really, there's no big major lake above me. So as far as flood control goes, I'm able to hold water and allow other people in the river, access for that space in the river. And so, I end up holding water a lot there at Tenkiller, which is fine. That's what that's why we're here. So it took a while before we were able to get that done. And to be honest with you, really for us to assess the true damages to facilities, we had to wait for that contract to get completed so we could at least see, okay, what all is really damaged here. And it was a lot.
Yeah, there's a big part of assessment, right? Like, because you see trees and you see things knocked over, but you don't know whether that picnic table's been cracked in half or whether it's still working. And I remember like going, and there was like benches that were like twisted.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that tornado was powerful. And, it's interesting too, because Brewer's Bend was hit by a tornado many, many, many years ago. And it's kind of like, I think people don't even use it as much anymore because they didn't realize it reopened, because it's kind of like, it's kind of hidden away,
Yep.
It's right there on the river. And so like Tenkiller's, that's what, 3 campgrounds now that
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. I don't think Snake Creek will be the same way. There's a lot of demand there, and that's a highly visible campground. And we look forward to getting it back open for our customers, and for us. I mean, that's been a big. Even though we've contracted a lot of the work, it's been a big burden on myself, my CE tech. Me and him have spent a lot of time writing scopes of work and formulating IGEs. And
what's an IGE?
So IGE is a government estimate, and normally we're pretty good with them. Me and him, we hit a lot of them spot on.
Right.
But man, this inflation with metal and lumber prices lately has made it more difficult. I had to one of the contracts we got going now is metal fence replacement, repair and replacement. And we had some old facilities inside those campgrounds. I was tasked by my bosses, hey, make it better than it was. We have the opportunity. We're replacing and repairing stuff anyway. Make it better than it was. And so, some of the old cable type fencing with metal posts or wood posts and cable, I'm going to go, that was, damaged and destroyed anyway. I'm going to replace some of that stuff with metal rail fence that looks good, that we can paint. And, man, that metal prices have been hard to hit lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they're going up 3 times. By the time I can get estimates for what I think the cost will be, supply it to contracting, and contracting goes through their bidding process. Sometimes it's went up double by the time they get to there. And so they're calling me back and saying, hey, we're off. Do you have money to spend and need to redo the IGE? So
wow.
So it's been a challenge. We've executed a lot of contracts.
So, and that's for those two campgrounds?
Those two campgrounds.
So you have to you can't just do like one contract typically for both. You have to do multiple things and multiple contracts for different types of work as well. Is that how it, or is that just how you've had to do it?
Yeah, and a lot of it's available. I'm kind of getting down to the end now, so the money's not, the pockets aren't as deep there. So I got to be a little bit more particular about prioritizing what I want to get done and in what time frame. But going back to kind of what you were asking there, yeah, you have people that specialize in building metal buildings. You have people that specialize in laying concrete, and you can't just do one giant contract and say I need you to come in and do it all, because your product is not going to be as good when the outcome's done. So, and we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit. So there was a point in time there where we realized, okay, they told us we're gonna issue you supplemental funding in order to get these campgrounds back in order. This was after the reprogramming of the initial money, and so we had to go in and make an assessment of, okay, how much do we think it's going to cost? And that took time and effort on my behalf, my bosses as well. And once we submitted our request, received our funds, kind of lost track of where I was going there, but I'll get back here in a second. So, we were, the two campgrounds were funded separately. So had to use Elk Creek money for Elk Creek and Snake Creek money for Snake Creek. And some things, okay, I can do one contract for both and just then I got to do additional work. Okay, how much does Elk Creek actually cost compared to how much Snake Creek actually cost? And some of them, if it was like for instance, we did a lot of concrete repair. Both of those were big jobs. I decided to separate them so I could have two contractors working at the same time. But other contracts like repair of some of the amenities, utility tables. I did utility tables separate, standalone by itself, because it required fabrication. I needed a contractor that could fabricate the table and then install it. And then I did fire rings and grills separately, because you can just go buy a fire ring and grill. And so, but I did both campgrounds at once. So I did fire rings and grills for Elk Creek and Snake Creek, one contract, and utility tables for both campgrounds, one contract. So, I'm proficient at contracting and writing scopes at this point. Let's say that.
Isn't that amazing how much you learn from something like that?
And sometimes it's trial and error, and fortunately, we got people that in the contracting office that'll go, okay, you may want to reconsider this or change this. So, we have lots of sets of eyes looking at it. So that's been a big benefit to me.
So, among some of the things you've got, like Snake Creek, for example, you're going to get a new gate shack in, right? Or is that just repaired?
That's already installed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's there when people show up. And then, is this a storage building is that the storage building at Snake or Elk Creek?
I can run through them if you want me to.
Yeah, okay.
So, going back to what people will be seeing when they come into the campgrounds once we get them reopened. Snake Creek, for instance, installed a new gate shack there. It received some damage. Besides the fact it was, 60, 70, 75, 80 years old, it received some damage. So we replaced it with a brand new 6T gate shack. There's two playgrounds inside of Snake Creek. They were both wooden structures that were older, probably out of date, probably out of safety standards. And so we installed two new playgrounds there with proper fall protection and bordering. A lot of the concrete and asphalt inside Snake Creek Campground was damaged due to the same reason the water lines were. The root wads pulled up, portions of picnics, table slabs, or portions of camping pads. And so we had to repair several picnic table pads and camping pads and repair or replace. Some of them were damaged enough. We said, okay, we're going to rip them out and replace them. So we did a contract for that. All the campsite amenities, fire rings, grills, utility tables, replaced every one of those inside the campground because, not only were a lot of them damaged because of the tornado, but then they were flooded for such a long time as well. Purchased a lot of, like you said earlier, a lot of the old concrete picnic tables had trees land on them, so did a SAIC purchase for brand new metal coated picnic tables for those sites that lost their picnic tables. So we got that, and all the retaining walls inside Snake Creek basically were built with native stone and concrete. Once again, 70 years ago, a lot of that stuff had become brittle, and those things they were already falling apart in places. And then when you start having trees right next to them fall over, we had damage to numerous retaining walls around campground or campsites. So we replaced all those. Did a contract. We did a contract through our E&C office here in the Tulsa district, and did full water line replacement at both campgrounds, which was desperately needed before the tornado. And this was an opportunity. The funding was there, the purpose fit. Those bad water lines were damaged and now going to be even worse if we were to go in and try to patch them. So replaced full water line replacement, both campgrounds, Elk and Snake Creek. A bunch of the electric pedestals were either damaged, broke, smashed, not to mention set underneath water because we couldn't even get to them to, normally when we flood, we'll go in and pull the guts out of those electric pedestals so we can, because water doesn't go well with electric. We can shut them off, pull the guts out, and then when the water goes down, we go reinstall them. Well, because we couldn't get to them, we couldn't do that in this case. So I elected to, hey, we're going to replace every pedestal in the campground. Start fresh, new stuff. And so that contract just finished up. We did final inspection on that last week. So at Snake Creek, other than, not to mention the projects we have still ongoing, the replacing the metal fencing I was talking to you about earlier, that contract has been awarded. The contractor started this past Monday. We still have another contract in the queue to repave or overlay some of the roads inside Snake Creek Campground. Between the flooding and root wads from trees falling over, we had damage to some of the roads, and so this was an opportunity to get those things back in shape. And we don't have those opportunities very often. Roads are expensive, and
were you able to get any DOT money on that? Or?
No, it was all just the tornado supplemental. Quotes haven't came back yet, but
right.
But I'm thinking I'm going to be able to do most of the campground. Definitely the roads. I probably won't be able to do the camping pads, but the roads I should be able to get done for the most part. So we have a couple contracts left that they're working. Also, we have a signed contract in the queue, basically to replace the signs inside the campgrounds. So, that's what's the holding up Snake Creek currently is the asphalt contract, because I can't have campers in there and do that work at the same time. That's about the only thing left in Snake Creek to really keep from getting it opened.
Is that out for bid yet, or is it already awarded, or where are we at?
It is
still
not
being scoped.
It is still being scoped, and it's we're in the review process currently.
Okay.
Because of the money amount, it has some additional requirements, some BC OES review, and I don't know what that acronym stands for. I know what it means. I know what the requirements are of it. I don't know what it stands for, but
right.
But we've been going through that, me and my boss, Craig Robbins, as well as some people in the contracting office. So we're hopefully about got that fixed, resolved, ready to go, and ready to go out. So I don't know when that contract will be awarded, but looking forward to getting that one done. It's the last big one.
Is it advertised? Is it? It's not advertised. Okay.
Not yet.
It's not been advertised yet.
Not yet.
So typically, yeah, they'll advertise it once it's ready. It'll be on sam.gov.
Yep.
And
or beta SAM. Yeah, beta SAM.
I think it's SAM now. I think they got rid of the betas.
Maybe so. It changes. It's changed about three times since I started
it was great.
this.
It was Fed Biz Ops, right?
Yeah,
It's easy to remember. But now it's, I think, just sam.gov. And when it comes out, it'll post in there. And so if there's anybody listening to this podcast and you're an asphalt and road builder type, then
absolutely,
that might be a contract you're interested in.
There you go.
In snatching up once it, put in a bid and make it reasonable.
and I think that's one other thing, and it's not going to hold up the opening of the campground, but I have a waiting on a quote currently from SAIC for basically the purchase of some trees, topsoil,
some trade, shade,
recover some shade. I've worked through with our archaeology office. There's a big arc site.
Yeah,
I mean there always is around lakes, and so I've worked through that with them, getting the trees replanted, and so. That won't, like I said, that won't hold up the opening. We can do that.
Right.
We can do that work with campers using the facilities. But, we're going to try to get some shade back and try to get some some ground, with trees falling over by the root wads and flooding. We had a lot of erosion in there as well. So trying to get some topsoil back and get some grass growing again. That's about it for Snake.
Now you're not going to have to plant any post oak though, because those things they grow everywhere.
Yeah,
I got like 12 around my house. They're all over the place.
Yeah, we'll
get. Could just wait, and there's probably like 5 waiting to sprout up.
I requested the quote for a variety of different trees. A lot of them are native. But it's when you finish one thing on this thus far. When you finish one thing, it's like, okay, which one do I start on next?
Yeah.
But I think in the end, once I forgot to mention also we lost, and this is how this has been. But so we lost the dock, the courtesy dock at Snake Creek.
Right.
We still don't know where that dock is. We found the walkway. My assumption is it's somewhere sunk in the lake somewhere. I don't know for sure. It may be on somebody's private property back in the woods. No, there's no telling.
Maybe in a tree somewhere. But anyway, we never found the dock. So anyway, we had to replace the dock. That's been completed. One pavilion received a large amount of damage, so we replaced that. The storage building that our volunteers and stuff use, it just disappeared. We don't know where that went either, so we replaced that as well. But that was some of the other work that you'll see at Snake Creek when when we get that opened back up. The Elk Creek, what is it? It says driveway, but I mean it looks like a sidewalk almost from this image that I'm looking at here. The bathroom replacement.
Yeah, that's actually a road leading up to our bathroom. Wow. And so the bathroom received damage at Elk Creek. Just got it replaced. Actually, the only thing keeping me from opening Elk Creek is the bathroom is installed. The concrete work is all done. We built a new concrete drive because it's up on a hill, and not only would it erode every time it rained, we had to repair that road leading up to that bathroom because it would just wash out. And then it was gravel and steep, so people would peel out if they was in a car. And so we built a new concrete road leading up to that. It has a grade not quite of what like a boat ramp would have, but it has that cut grade where they can grip and get up there. The only thing left for the contractors to do that's installing that bathroom is to hook up the internal plumbing to the bathroom.
Wow.
So once they can get back and get that complete, that campground's on the aside from us getting our bollards in. So one thing that's going to change at Elk Creek when people start going back in there is that's going to be on QR code. We probably won't put a gate attendant back in there. We'll probably just have a camp host, and we're going to go to QR code in Elk Creek. But some of the things we had to repair in there or replace, same deal with concrete slabs and utilities, full water line replacement, electric pedestal replacement, same thing, all the campsite amenities, fire rings, grills, utility tables, all the retaining walls in there, same story. Old native stone built 70 years ago. We replaced all those with concrete, clean look. Had to replace a pavilion in there, storage building for the volunteers in there as well. Something I forgot to mention, at Snake Creek, we did upgrade some sites in Snake Creek. From 30 to 50 amp, we upgraded 8 sites, and we did the same at Elk Creek. We upgraded 5 sites to 50 amp. We also, when we did the water line replacement, hey, let's go ahead and give every site its own water. In Elk Creek, that wasn't the case, and some sites didn't even have water there. And so, to lead us down the road of future upgrades as well, we went ahead and ran water to every site, even if it's a primitive site. Well, at least now they got water, and if we ever want to upgrade, the water's already there, so that's one less thing we got to do. But same story. A lot of work, a lot of time.
Do you guys? Now you close both of those in the winter typically, right? Because of potential for freezing in the water, right?
Yes, sir.
So they'll still stay closed in the winter months, though. Like or will they now be able to be? The water line.
We'll probably just maintain what we've done in the past.
Okay.
We have some other campgrounds that we leave open in the wintertime that the use isn't great.
Right.
The numbers aren't as high, so we just kind of try to localize that way we are not having to still maintain and monitor.
That's a question we get sometimes, is people will want to know, well, what do we got to do to get this site or this particular campground open so we can enjoy it year round? But the reality is that a lot of the reasons that you have to close those places during the winter months is because of things like potential for freezing.
Yeah, and you don't want to keep 101 sites open because 3 people really want to get in there for 2 days. You know,
it costs money to keep electric running, right?
And if you in those bigger campgrounds like that, if you don't have flow in those water lines, they're gonna freeze. So we just try to, okay, here's what we're gonna offer. It may not be the greatest spot, but you're still on the lake. You still have an opportunity to camp. We can handle it better and still, do all of our other, it's funny, people that camp think, well, that's our job. We deal with camping. Mm-hmm. So they're like, why isn't this better? Well, the people that deal with floods, they're like, why aren't you dealing with this flood constantly? Well, because, I have to deal with floods. I have to deal with parks. I have to deal with, fish and wildlife. We manage more land than we do water. Right. And so, there's a lot that goes into our jobs. And, to be honest with you, we, it's not like we have 50 employees sitting there.
You got 6 rangers that are having to spread out with, I think you told me like 10, you've got 10 parks.
Yep.
That's not even counting day use areas.
That's not counting day use
multiple days areas.
Yep.
And then if you consider, like, say, Brewer's Bend and, what is it, Spaniard Creek?
Spaniard Creek, yes, sir.
Spaniard Creek, those are clear on down by Weber's Falls.
Yeah.
Past Weber's Falls.
That's about a 30 or 40 minute drive
from your lake office.
From our office,
yeah. So, I mean, you're spread out, and I know it doesn't make sense sometimes to people how recreation areas, you know,
Yeah.
what your project is responsible for geographically. It can be kind of confusing for people, but that's part of the issue is that like you got to travel out to go out there, you know, to those sites.
Yep.
I was looking at your and I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. I was looking at it looks like you're going to have a pretty nice pavilion out there at Elk Creek, a new storage area. Is that for maintenance for the storage area?
Our maintenance guys use it as well as volunteers. We store some of their equipment in there as well.
Okay. And then there's going to be a pretty nice looking playground at Snake Creek. Looks like you completely redid that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty is that like ground up rubber, or is that
recycled
rubber?
tires? Yep.
Yeah, recycled tires.
Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty nice. That's a pretty impressive campground. Playground you got there at. Obviously, it won't be as shaded once you reopen. But
Yeah.
eventually, you know, you'll get the trees back, and I know even like did all the boats there were some boats that sunk out there.
That was at the marina.
At the marina, yeah.
Yeah.
And did they get that stuff cleared out? So
Yeah, he's pretty much he's worked diligently. You know, nobody's perfect. He still has some things he needs to do that he runs across or we run across from time to time. But he's back up and open. He's got new slips. You know, and he done a pretty good job. I mean, when that's your livelihood, though, that's his business. That was
that guy took a hit.
Yeah, he wanted to get it up and running and you know get back to where he could make money again, and he did a good job. He got the boats out. You know, there's still, like I said, you know, people's going to hear this and go, well, I know of this and that, but yeah, we realize there's still things he needs to do. So does he. You know, if we realize it, we notify him. Most of the time, he already knows.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it looks like a campground again. It looks like a marina sitting there next to it again. There's just a few things that you know, like I said, the utility contract just completed last week.
Right.
So you can't open a campground with no water. You know, people keep asking. They call our office. I'm sure they've called you guys and say why is it not open yet? Well, you know, you can't have a campground with no water. And they think, well, I don't need water to camp. Well, the bathroom that you shower in needs water, though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, kind of one of them things.
And you don't want to wash in the lake all the time. You know? I mean, it gets old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, that flood that hit, you also had COVID right after the flood.
Oh yeah,
I don't mean you specifically. I meant but the COVID pandemic started, so that delayed a lot of stuff. I mean, we had to basically be away from the office for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you know, not to mention that between floods, which obviously slowed down work and progress. Then we run into the COVID stuff, and you know, we had several employees at my office that had to quarantine because either they got it or you know, somebody in their family got it and they were exposed. And you know, the early parts of that, you know, what America didn't know what to expect, nor did we. You know, we didn't know, okay, what's the proper amount of time to quarantine? Well,
you got schools, you got kids, you got daycares. People have children, and I mean, I know we were getting messages every day.
Yep.
You know, like this person's brother or sister tested positive, so out of caution, we're gonna like close this room or something. So, like those kind of things, they really interrupted life. You know, and they certainly interrupt the process when the person you're working with on contract or the person who's doing the scoping or whatever, they're out for a couple weeks. And
absolutely, you know, you're working on the same workloads there. But the personnel is a skeleton crew trying to complete it. So I didn't even mention that. You know, COVID definitely slowed down our processes. It slowed. You know, I personally had to quarantine, and you know that slows down my process when I can't coordinate with the people that I'm working on this stuff with. That it just slows it down. It's just it's the nature of it. So I didn't even, not even to mention that, but.
And then it affected the resource availability for things like you were talking about metals, and that's probably contributed to a lot of the metal increase,
Yep.
price increase of things like metal. And I'm not sure if concrete got hit as hard or whatever, but I know everybody's talking about lumber prices, so I don't know how much you guys had to worry with that as much, but
well, people were wanting to work because people needed to work. So the contractors, it wasn't as bad with them. They did run into some issues getting some supplies at times. Our in-house stuff was definitely a hindrance. We had people in the district office that works in contracting. They're all teleworking, and we were working through getting our stuff to just work right electronically, and then they were off at times because of COVID-related reasons. So was I, and I had the same issues. I was trying to telework from home, and every 10 minutes I was
patch
getting
into the VPN.
Every 10 minutes I'm getting kicked off, and I'm like, "Dadgum, why is this?" So, we all work through it, and that the side of that nobody sees. Everybody knows the things that me and you've discussed this far about COVID.
Right.
The things people that might hear this don't realize is people were desperate for recreation, desperate for something to do. Why not go to a campground? So our visitation at the campgrounds that were open have skyrocketed.
Right,
every weekend over the course of the last 2 summers has been like a holiday.
Wow.
It's full campgrounds. Day use parking areas full, which requires more attention and time by my staff. Which rob Peter to pay Paul. Okay, we can't focus as much on this tornado cleanup in particular because, man, our visitation is going up. We have 2 campgrounds that are closed, and our visitation's going up.
Right.
So the use is definitely going up. So that's something that a lot of people, unless they're lake goers, didn't realize.
If anything, it's kind of amazing you were able to get as much accomplished as you have, given that you had a flood. You had people on flood. People don't realize flood watch is like a 24-hour thing. Once you go into 24-hour flood watch, that's all you're focused on.
That's what you do. Yeah, and you're exactly right.
I've walked some flood watches with some rangers, and it's not fun walking on an incline.
Well, when you have, 6 or basically we had 8 people, 8 people that.
Yeah, because the maintenance staff even has.
Yeah, my maintenance crew. And you're running 3 different shifts where it requires monitoring of that dam every hour. Every hour we're required to go drive that embankment, which takes 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's a big embankment.
Yeah, so during that time frame, absolutely. There's no time for anything but that. That's your number one. That's our mission. Flood control, and that's the number one priority. So basically, during that time, that's what you're focused on. That's what you're doing, and recreation. Like I explain to people especially people around home when they find out what I do, and they ask about Snake Creek or something, and I'm like, well, especially during the flood, I'm like, what's more important? In all honesty, supplying someone with a campsite or saving someone's home. Anybody ought to be able to answer that question. You want to save those people's home, and so that becomes your number one priority. So that was just another wondrous welcome to Tenkiller for me at that time. The flooding of had record floods in 19, as well as there was a point in time there where Weber's Falls Pool was the lowest it had ever been.
Right. Yeah.
We had to basically drain that pool in order to get the barges out. So it was.
Did you see it before they pulled the barges, like when they drained it, like the river, the riverbed? I went over to Brewer's Bend a few times, and
it was just a little.
I walked out there,
stream going through the middle, yeah,
and it was like the moon.
Yeah,
I mean, I've never been to the moon, obviously, but it was like it was just surreal. It was surreal. I mean, when you're driving through Tulsa and you look at the Arkansas River, sometimes you'll, my son's literally said, we'll say, "Oh, son, that's the river," and he'll say, "That's not a river, that's the sand."
Yeah,
but it was like that. You never see it like that below Three Forks.
Never,
and that's below Three Forks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was so weird to just walk out there, and I've got some video and photos of it on one of my drives somewhere, but yeah, it was just surreal. And I don't know, it was just kind of crazy, like, and you think about how much, I mean, I remember we went from they were releasing a lot out of Fort Gibson at that point, because they were having after that flood event, they were having to maintain the pool at another point. They're, because you've basically got water going because you've got a gate that's open. So
yeah, and kudos to our navigation folks, because I mean, that was a this is not a we all work, don't recreate the wheel,
right.
And those guys do as well. They know if this gate's open this much and the inflow's this
right.
much, the outflow's going to be this much with
right.
head pressure. They know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all been calibrated. They've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
But when you have a barge blocking gates,
right.
They were recreating the wheel. They were like, okay, let's raise it a little bit more and see what that does.
Right.
For them to be able to that quickly make that adjustment and find balance in the system was pretty impressive to me. So them guys done a great job, and then they done a fantastic job of okay, how are we going to drain one pool of a river and keep water in another pool? Right. I mean, it's a river, it flows. You think if you block up one end, it's going to go dry. Well, they didn't. They kept Kerr Lake at pretty much within a few feet of regular pool while they drained a pool above it.
Yeah, they were still able to have some navigation going up and down, at least below Weber's at that time.
So pretty amazing on their part.
It's very impressive. I would always advise people, if they've never gone to one of the locks, even Kerr or WD Mayo, if you ever get a chance to go to one of those observation areas and like just park there, and I think both of them still have their observation areas.
Yep.
WD Mayo's a little bit more kind of out of the way, but if you ever get a chance to just go like down to Kerr and park at the observation area and just watch barges come in, I mean, you're probably only going to watch one because it takes a long time.
It takes 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, just for one. Yeah. And if they've got a bunch of barges, it's a lot more. But it's so amazing just how that whole system works. But so you're going to have new and improved Elk Creek and new and improved Snake Creek. You think it'll be able to get before the end of rec season? You think we might be able to get it in before?
I think Elk Creek will be open very shortly. Okay. Soon as the contractor finishes up with the bathroom, and we ordered bollards for the QR codes a couple of weeks ago. So as soon as we get them in, that'll be number one priority, is to at least, Elk Creek has up around 40 campsites. That'll relieve some of the pressure off some of them other parks that are currently open.
Right.
So I foresee that in the very near future, definitely before the end of rec season.
Okay.
Snake Creek, unfortunately, mainly due to the asphalt contract, I can't give a definite answer.
No problem.
I feel pretty comfortable that we should be ready to go first of rec season next year.
Right.
Our initial goal in January, February timeframe of 2021, we was really hoping we could maybe get it open before Labor Day.
Right.
But contracting processes just aren't fast. They aren't fast, and even when they work at their fastest, you still have to allow that contractor a proper amount of time in order to get their work completed. A lot of times it's 90 days.
Yeah.
Especially on a job like that. because you have to take into consideration weather and them being able to get their supplies and materials. So we have to allow them a proper amount of time. And so even if, my worry is even if we were able to award that contract today, I mean, we're at the end of July. If we give them a 90-day,
that would still be October.
Yeah,
right?
still be October. So, and I mean, them guys are big. I mean, they work. They're working and they're bidding on these jobs ahead of time.
Right.
So they may be on a job that they're going to be on for another month and a half before they can even start on ours. So I feel like we're probably going to miss recreation season with Snake Creek this year. But I feel like that we should be up and ready to go first of the year next year, and that's probably going to disappoint some people. I understand that. Trust me, nobody wants that campground open more than I do. I'm the one that gets the phone calls. I'm the one that has spent countless hours working those contracts and monitoring contracts and QA-ing contracts, as well as my CE techs. I don't want to not give them the credit they deserve. Pete Theotis and Bucky Barnes have been fantastic. I'm ready to get, I'm definitely ready to get back to managing a project that is fully functional, So I'm as ready as anybody else. I know people are chomping at the bit to get into Snake Creek, and I just want to be able to supply them with a good, safe, a better experience than what it was when they left it last.
How much asphalt are we talking in terms of roadway or whatever? How many is it, like a mile?
Oh no, it's to be honest with you, I can't give you an answer on that because I measured it in sections.
Gotcha.
But there's Snake Creek has a lot of loops.
Yeah.
So I don't know a total. I probably did at one point in time, but it's been a few weeks since I wrote that scope. So it's going to be, basically, I think I almost got every road in there. I don't know if I'll be able to do every road, but pretty close to every road starting at the front gate.
Yeah.
That's inside the campground, which, the Water's Edge ones obviously need more.
Right.
More attention, but and we prioritized them and wrote them the way we optioned those contracts out. We wrote them up first. So
so you guys have a cleanup day you guys are going to be doing in October, right?
Oh yeah, some of the other things we have going on. Aside from being in the middle of rec season, we've been hosting a Tidy Up Tenkiller event, partnered with GTAA, which is the Greater Tenkiller Association. We've been performing lake cleanups twice a year. Usually we do one in the spring, we do one in the fall. Thus, we got another one scheduled coming up in October. The date is not nailed down yet, but it will be shortly. We'll start having meetings for that probably mid to late August. And basically we're trying to get people out. The flooding, as well as the tornado, but the flooding, we ended up with a lot of debris in the lake, a lot of styrofoam, a lot of marinas. I mean, a lot of marinas had issue from the flooding. Yeah. Not just Snake Creek. They all lost foam and stuff, and so we've been trying to get that cleaned up. The old tires, and I think this will be our fourth cleanup that we've had, and we've removed, I can't remember how, 80 thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of trash. Wow. Styrofoam, old tires, just trash around the lake. So if people would be looking for that, man, we would love to have participation. I'm not going to be able to clean up Tenkiller Lake with 8 people. No. So, it's a public place. It's a public event. Come help make our lake look better.
Is there a meeting place you typically meet up when you plan those?
Generally, GTAA.
They'll set it.
They sort of headed up. I went to them a couple years ago and say, hey, I need some help.
Yeah.
And man, to their credit, they've taken it and ran with it. And I'm just a participant at this point. I supply, our boat, our staff, our equipment to load dumpsters. But as far as ramrodding it, they've taken the bull by the horns on that, and they'll establish sort of. we try to move it around to different portions of the lake,
right?
And so they'll establish, kind of a home base for the cleanup. And a lot of times we use Chicken Creek South because it's the biggest parking area, biggest boat ramp,
right?
And we'll have roll-off dumpsters stationed at different locations. Usually we'll pick 4, 5, 6 different locations. We'll have those dumpsters stationed. And, man, hey, if you're just it's October. The weather's still pretty nice. It's not hot. If you're just coming out on a day to go fishing, man, if you run across a piece of styrofoam and haul it in, throw it in one of them dumpsters, every little bit helps, And
then, if you see somebody dumping illegally, which I imagine you guys don't have too many. Do you have any problems with that there? We see it a lot around Keystone and.
We all have it. Every lake has that.
Yeah.
Not so much on the Tidy Up Tenkiller event.
Right.
But yeah, anybody that sees that kind of activity taking place, feel free to give our office a call. If you we don't want anybody to put themselves at risk, but if you get a
don't go over there trying to stop somebody because you never know.
But if you can drive by and get a license plate number, that always helps.
Snap a picture with your phone.
Yep. We recently had somebody dumped a bunch of furniture.
Yeah.
At our overlook, which is right by our office, and I'm like,
wow,
man, that's brazen. Yeah. So, that happens a lot, but yeah, any help, hey, we're not too proud to take help from anybody.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I know people down there. Tenkiller's got a reputation as the clearest, most beautiful lake in Oklahoma. So.
Oh yeah,
it's always.
I'm blessed. Every day I drive over that embankment at least twice.
Yeah.
Coming to work and going home, and it's a breathtaking look every day. Yes. And I just, I'm truly blessed, and I just look at it and I can't believe this is where I work. This is where I work at.
Right.
So it's a beautiful lake. The water clarity is fantastic. The bluffs and the scenery around the edge of the lake. It's a beautiful place, and I want to be part of help keeping it that way. So that's why we started this Tidy Up event, and aesthetics, and I'm a little OCD. I want Snake Creek and Elk Creek to look good. I want those places to look good when people go back in there.
Right.
And so
based on the photos I've seen of where you are with it, it's going to be nice.
It's going to be nice.
It's going to be really nice. Probably better. Obviously the shade is a big deal, but But there's other things that come with shade too, and you're not going to have to deal with as many acorns that you're going to be stepping on or sweeping off your pad, your campground pad or whatever. What have I not asked you that I probably should have asked you for this?
We've covered the tornado and the recovery of the tornado pretty well. But like I said, that's a minor, well, not minor, but that's a portion of what we've been doing. We work, we got some fantastic marinas at our project. Beautiful, Burnt Cabin Marina is beautiful.
Yeah.
We're currently working with those folks trying to expand their lease area. They have some ideas and some proposals to enhance the recreation at Tenkiller, and we're on board for that because a lot of times those private entities can supply certain types of recreation that we just don't deal in as far as the Corps goes. So we're working with them on that. That's coming up. We're doing the same thing at Strayhorn. They have a new owner. He's done a facelift to that marina. It looks great. We're working with him to make even more improvements. Recently, Pettit Bay Marina has just been purchased. So that owner is also the owner of Pine Cove Marina, and anybody that's seen Pine Cove Marina knows there's going to be some major improvements going on in Pettit Bay. We're working with him on. I say we're working with. We have to. All those marinas, a big portion of them are on government property, and we have to go through our review process for any construction that takes place, and so that's what we're doing on our end. Other than that, currently, we're praying that the fall rains stay away and we can get to normal pull, and stay there for a while. We're closing out rec season. We got one major holiday left, and that's where our focus is currently. A lot of my 6 rangers, they work 3 different shifts, so most of the time I only see a couple of them at a time. We have rangers that work weekends and nights, and also have rangers that work during the day, during the week. So, those guys are split up. We got our summer ranger staff going. So, we're just looking to close the summer strong. We got some projects planned for the fall that we'll start working on soon as the gates close to some of the campgrounds.
Well, awesome. Well, Dennis, thanks again for taking the time to drive up here to the office. I know it's always better to be down in the Gore area as opposed to having to come all the way up here to the main office. But you made the trip, and in spite of me telling you initially that I would go to you, but
hey, I like to come up here from time to time and touch base with the people I'm working with. So
yeah, it's good to see you, and please say hi to the staff for us, and thanks again. It's been fun.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us for Corpstruction. Corpstruction is a production of the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Public Affairs Office. This episode of Corpstruction was brought to you by the Tenkiller Lake Project Office. For more information about the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, check us out on the web at www.swt.usace.army.mil. You can find us on most social media sites at USACE Tulsa, all one word. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great day.